Mornings with Will on 531 PI.
It is 7:33. You're listening to Pacific Mornings on 531 PI. I'm William Teresi. Good to be with you all the way through until 9 a.m. this morning. Now, a bill that aims to restore citizenship rights to a group of Samoans born between 1924 and 1949 has unanimous support from the Select Committee to proceed, but will not include the descendants of the cohort. Now, at its first reading earlier this year, National was the only party in Parliament to vote against the bill, but has it now changed its stance? Joining me now is Prime Minister and National Party leader Christopher Luxon. Good morning to you.
Good morning, William. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Great to be chatting with you. Hey, look, let's go there. In terms of the National Party's stance on this, has it changed?
Well, look, I mean, our big concerns were that we wanted to limit the granting of citizenship to those 3,500 people that were born between that period of 1924 and 1948. And actually, that's been the view of all the political parties ultimately here in the Parliament through that select committee process, having listened to all the different advice on all sides of that debate and conversation. So yes, the National Party will be supporting the bill at what's called the second reading. We'll have some questions and some monitoring and watching just to ensure that it is, the eligibility scope is maintained to what's been intended by Parliament through the conversation with the Select Committee. And then obviously it goes through what's called Committee of the Whole, a third reading, and then obviously becomes the law. So yes, we will be moving our position to support, but obviously wanting to monitor and continue to watch the bill very closely as it progresses through Parliament.
This is a huge win for the Pacifica community. I mean, the submissions were overwhelming from the Pacifica community on this. Is this also an acknowledgement that the Muldoon National Government got it wrong?
Well, it's just going back and looking at the history of the whole development of what actually led to this situation. So, remembering that there is a small number of people born between 1924 and 1948, that in the 1982 legislation, which counted a Court of Appeal decision, and there's good reason for why people made that decision at that point in time. But look, having gone through the Select Committee process, being reassured that the eligibility will be very tight to the people that were actually impacted. And as I said, all the parties in the Parliament have coalesced around that view through the process of the Select Committee. We will support it at second reading, but we will make sure, we monitor it to make sure that it is actually that we have kept that eligibility tight.
In terms of the eligibility, there's been this suggestion around, in terms of amendments here, a suggestion that perhaps the people that this is entitled for this, it'll be actually a long time before they're actually entitled to actually reap the benefits of being a Kiwi citizen, so much so that some argue that they'll be dead by the time they can actually reap that. What do you make of that sentiment?
Well, look, I mean, again, the political parties through the process here in Parliament have come to a view that, we've got to keep it limited to the actual people who were impacted through that decision. And I think that is the right place to be. And I appreciate, yes, they will be slightly older now, but the reality is, it's a good move that if all the Parliament and all the parties in the Parliament here in New Zealand can actually agree on that's a good thing. Obviously, there is a real desire within the parties to keep it the eligibility of it, tight, and that's important. So, let's let it go through. I mean, the process here in New Zealand is that we have a first reading of a bill, which you saw. We then go through a select committee process where we open it up to the public and any other stakeholders that are impacted by that legislation that's being developed. Through that process, we try and make it a better bill and a better law. We go take it to a second reading in Parliament, where parliamentarians will discuss it further. And then it obviously goes into what's called Committee of the Whole, a third reading, and then obviously becomes the law. So, the idea is that you have an idea, it gets refined, it gets improved, and actually becomes a better law as we go through the parliamentary process.
I guess that's the case in point, isn't it? I mean, the National Party, and you can stop me if I'm wrong here, had been singing from the same song sheet for many months on this in terms of the concerns raised about it. Now we've had the change of position. Guess this is ultimately the process just showing how it works, right?
Well, it is. I mean, that's the whole point of Parliament and having representation of the whole of the society, of New Zealand. So, it's quite common, quite normal that you might have a position. You have some concerns about it, or you can support part of it, but you can't support all of the legislation or all of the idea. And then through a process of engagement, of discussion with other MPs, through what's called the Select Committee process, where MPs from all parties participate in those conversations. The idea is then they act as parliamentarians to improve the quality of the law. And even if they don't fully support it, they're continually working to finesse it and to make it better and to make it, so it has more impact when it's operational, or the impact that's intended that it's supposed to have when it's operational. So, look, it's our process in action. Look, we will support it at second reading. We do have some reservations about making sure the eligibility and some of the implications are understood and are tightly understood, but we'll continue to progress it that way.
Fantastic. No, that's exciting news. Thank you very much for the update on that. You're listening to Pacific Mornings on 531 PI. I'm William Teresi. Great to have your company. Now Labour leader Chris Hipkins joins me this morning to discuss the latest in politics. A very good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning. Great to talk to you.
Likewise. Hey, look, we just had the Prime Minister on, Christopher Luxon, publicly confirming for the first time that the National Party will now be supporting the Restoring Citizenship bill for Western Samoans. What do you make of it?
I think that's great news. I mean, this is a long-standing historical injustice. Never should have happened. They never should have had their citizenship cancelled in the first place. I think it's well timed that the Parliament fixed that. I think if we can get unanimous support across the House for that, then that's even more powerful. My only regret is that we didn't do this, earlier, particularly around the time we issued the Dawn Raids apology. So I'm pleased that it's being done now.
Certainly. And with that in mind, then, I mean, for sure. And just very quickly, I just want to go back to the Restoring Citizenship bill for a second. I did ask Christopher Luxon if he could perhaps, because the National Party's changed its stance on this, is this an acknowledgement that the Muldoon National Government got it so very wrong and that it was a racist law? He stopped short of going there. What do you think?
I think they did get it wrong. I mean, taking away citizenship from people who had it is a pretty big step for any government to take. I think it was wrong. I think it was motivated by a lot of things that were going on at the time, characterised by things like the Dawn Raids. It was that era of New Zealand politics. It was an ugly era of New Zealand politics. If you were a Pacific person living in New Zealand, we as a government apologised for the Dawn Raids on behalf of the people of New Zealand, because it was wrong. It was discriminatory. People were treated very unfairly. And I think it's right that when you look in the rearview mirror of history and you can reflect on how badly people were treated, it's wrong that you make an effort to put that right.
Now, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon confirmed to PMN News this morning that his party now intends on supporting a bill that aims to restore citizenship to a group of Samoans born between 1924 and 1949. Now, earlier this year, the National Party voted against the bill, but has now changed its stance, of course, with a few caveats, though. Joining me for a reaction to all this is former National MP Anae Arthur Anae. Good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Will. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hey, look, on the face of it, what do you make of this now that National's changed its stance?
Okay, to be very blunt, it's window dressing. I don't know whether the Prime Minister is aware of the details, but I regard it's like getting a golden gift, a gold box gift, and when you open it, there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
And this is the facts of it. First of all, yes, the plus factor is the government has acknowledged the wrong thing was done to Samoan people in 1982, and amendments have been made to that bill to try and find a solution. The solution gives us absolutely nothing, because this is what they're going to tell us. That those born between 1924 and 49 only, not their heirs, only those born, will be able to apply and become New Zealand citizens at a fee of that $177.40. Why they have a fee like that, I don't know. It's pathetic. But that's where it stands. Now, the problem is, they cannot apply for their pension until they come to New Zealand and live here for 10 years.
Jeepers.
This is why I'm calling it an empty box, because none of those people will survive 10 years. The youngest now is 75. So it's what I call window dressing. There's nothing in this box. There's no gift. It looks good, but there's nothing for us. And the best thing they can do is make amendments to this bill before it goes to second reading or after the second reading, to go back to the official Privy Council decision and deliver that. And we'll all be happy.
Yeah.
I have some other alternatives I'm prepared to look at, but right now, This is where we've got to be.
Yeah. And I was pressing that fact with the Prime Minister this morning that, look, it's all well and good to say, yes, you support the bill, but it actually, I mean, these people, I have to put it frankly, will not be around in 10 years' time to actually reap the full benefits. His response was quite lacklustre in saying, yes, I acknowledge that some people won't be around, but, we take the position that all parties take. Do you think, just if we talk about all parties here, do you think it's just a watered-down effort from everyone here?
No, it's not, because I know the opposition parties did not support what's coming up. They were fighting for the issues that we talk about, and it's the majority, which, National has 3 members on the select committee, and so that's where the power is. But the thing is, what I do know, there is still an opportunity for a supplementary order paper to be put in after the second reading by other parties, and the ones we're looking at to hopefully support us will be Winston with New Zealand First and David Seymour with ACT.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will see the light that there are changes that need to be done, that what they have delivered is nothing. And therefore, this is not going to go away. We will end up in the International Human Rights Courts, no doubt about that. And what's going to make it worse for New Zealand, if we have to go that distance, the claim will be compensation for everyone that was affected from 1982. Those that have passed and their families should be compensated because they've continued this game. We've waited 42 years to get a nothing again.
Yeah, no, you put it so well. And look, I hate to ask it in such a way, but are you embarrassed about your former party and the way it's conducted itself with this particular bill?
Look, I left that party a long time ago for various things, and to do with this type of thing. I just didn't set it up. Back in 1997, I had Dr. George Barton front the caucus of the National Party, tell them they're wrong and tell them to sort it out. It just went in one ear and out the other. Didn't give a damn about it. Having said that, in 2003 we marched onto the Labour government with a 100,000 name petition. They didn't back it. And this is the first time that we have had the opportunity, because we stood together and said, this has got to go to the select committee process, to listen to the voices of the Samoan people for the first time.
Yeah.
And Winston and David Seymour both backed us to that level.
Yeah.
And that's why we had a select committee process. That's why they heard from over 25,000 people telling them what's wrong and what we want, and they still damn well ignored it.
Yeah. And look, I just want to get a reaction from you as well. We just literally had the Labour leader, Chris Hipkins, on this morning as well, and he said one of his, a regret looking back on things, it would have been, obviously ideal for this bill to have been introduced way earlier. I mean, that's no surprise there. But he said during the Dawn Raids apology is when they should have done it. What do you make of that?
Absolutely. I mean, Samoa's history with New Zealand is very sad. Every time it's another one. First of all, you go back to the Tafuni. Over 20% of Samoa destroyed by the flood. Then we come to the killing of Tamasese and the others. Then we come to the Dawn Raids. And then we came to 1982 Privy Council decision. And now we're here, 2024, and still nothing. And still nothing. So when will they wake up and treat us equally? And the worst thing that bugs people at the moment is the way the Pacific people have been treated in immigration. And the public should hear this. The immigration office in Samoa opens for 1 hour a day to provide services to people. And when someone's trying to get here for a funeral, they just can't do it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
What an insult. When we have other countries from other parts of the world who arrive in New Zealand, get their passport stamped, get a 3-month visitor's visa for free, and away they go. Why do they continue to insult the Pacific people who are our neighbours and part of New Zealand, and the Pacific people have always regarded New Zealand, and always will, as their matriarch. Okay. And yet we keep on getting treated this way. These things have to be fixed right now and stop mucking around. Do it.
Yep, I hear what you're saying. Hey, look, if you have to put it bluntly, I mean, I just want to, so this is not worth celebrating, you'd say? No,
nothing to celebrate.
Nothing.
The only thing to celebrate, acknowledge the error. That's what we celebrate, but that doesn't give us anything.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Okay, hey, thank you very much for your time this morning. We really appreciate you chatting with us. That is Anae Arthur Anae, former National MP. You have a good rest of your day, eh?
Thank you, William. Appreciate it.